Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Guys Who Stared. Stats, Cade Kennedy, and Andrew Santangelo with you. And folks, as always, before we get going, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. We always love to hear what you have to say. And folks, there's an interesting situation going on. We had the possibility of a double sweep in the NBA Conference Finals, and we did not get it. Boston finally woke up, I guess you could say, didn't have a big squandered quarter, and the Celtics getting a 116-99 win over the Heat. So we are going to a Game 5 here, Andrew.
Yeah, and Celtics do it by having a big third quarter, kind of like Miami did in Game 1, I believe, when they stole Game 1. But no, Miami, credit to Miami. They've been stepping up. Jimmy Butler's been, all over the place, getting things done for this Miami team and find a way to jump out there for the big 3-0 lead to start the series. And obviously, Celtics looking to make history, but obviously not easy to do. They I don't know. For me to believe that there's a real good shot, they got to take Game 6. I know it sounds crazy. Obviously, it forces Game 7, but I fully expect them to take Game 5. Game 6 is the one I think they drop to close out the series. You think after taking that Game 4, the way they came back and closed it, Tatum played very well finally late in the game. That's been, I think, one of the Celtics' biggest issues is Tatum just hasn't shown up in the fourth quarter and stuff, especially after the way he closed Game 6 and 7 against the Sixers in the fourth quarter. And crazy how, like, one series can make that kind of difference. So, for me, they got to take Game 6 to actually have hope in seeing history. Game 5 won't do much for me because, again, I think they will and expect them to take it going back to Boston and stuff. And after a good second half against the Heat this last game. So we'll see where they're at. But no, the Miami's defense is causing problems for the Celtics, and that's part of the coaching mismatch you have in this series.
It absolutely is. I mean, you're going with Coach Mazzulla, who's only 34 years old. He played against Jimmy Butler in the Big East tournament. I saw that floating around the other day. I was just like, that does make sense, but my goodness, it's hard to think about that versus one of the best to do it in Coach Spoelstra out at Miami. But this Game 4 was intriguing to me, Andrew, at least in the way that we've both talked about a little bit. The reversal of what we saw in Games 1 through 3. Miami had that lead going into halftime, and I thought, okay, here's the opportunity. Miami's up by 6. They can deliver the kill shot if they didn't already do it in Game 3 in the eyes of some people. This is their opportunity to finally pull away, get all the rest you need to get ready for Denver. And instead, the Celtics used that big third quarter. They were finally able to shut them down, and Miami made careless mistakes. I mean, you don't see Jimmy Butler turn the ball over back-to-back possessions ever, especially in a playoff game. The Celtics were able to keep capitalizing. Everyone started to make shots. Tatum, Grant Williams, and Al Horford stepped up as well. Marcus Smart was playing better. And it was interesting to see because you mentioned the point. Now that Boston's got that Game 4 win, we go back to the Garden for Game 5. And Celtics, as you can see, an 8-point favorite in Game 5 there. And I think just about everyone said it. You expect almost Boston to bounce back. You've stopped the bleeding with Game 4. You have the bounce-back win opportunity here in Game 5. What's really going to be intriguing is that Game 6 in Miami, but there's some part of me that thinks Miami knows this. If you put yourself in the mindset of them, you've been hearing this all week, we'll see what happens when we get to Game 6. Almost like Game 5 is this foregone conclusion here. So, obviously, I think we both are in agreement Boston will win Game 5, but it'll be intriguing to see how Miami comes out.
Yeah, I hope they don't we can obviously sit here and talk about it in that fashion. I hope they don't think that way because you really don't want to let them get too comfortable and try to figure things out. The reason why I have a hard time believing it, we talked about the coaching matchups too, is, again, he's been running circles around in the series. So you expect the same thing here. You drop one game, you expect them to make adjustments in game 5, and hypothetically, if you do lose Game 5, full-on adjustments are coming in Game 6. So I expect to see that here, and it's going to be interesting. I'm curious how it plays out in Boston. And the 8-point spread, though, does surprise me. They've already gone up and taken 2 in Boston, and I get it. You're more likely to lose. Boston's not likely to lose 3 straight in Boston, so maybe that's partly why, but I am surprised. 8's a bit high. I expect it to be closer than that. But in the end, too, I guess you have some weird games so far where it kind of haven't been – they've been close in a way, but the final scores haven't all been close.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen that already in games 1 and 2 this series, where it's neck and neck for a while, and then Boston will get up 9 and then lose by 9.
Yeah.
Where it's a close game, it just never looks that way. But I really want to see how Miami bounces back here in Game 5, because obviously I don't think they're going to shoot 25% from three again. I think Jimmy Butler will play better. I think Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Kyle Lowry, they'll all play better for the most part. I mean, it's hard to play worse than they did at times, but I really want to see how Boston comes out, because if you can control things here and put your foot on their throat for once, if you can actually establish some momentum and keep it that way, you have the crowd behind you, you have everything going your way, you have some momentum for the first time this series. And we've seen them able to gain it as quickly as they can lose it in the last two series, but it's all going to come down to what Boston wants to do. The ball truly is in their court here.
Yeah, no question about it. So you're telling me you don't want to be down at halftime and have a big second? That seems to be the recipe so far.
I, for one, like being ahead at halftime, regardless of what history says, especially in a recent series. But obviously, we'll have to see, because it is going to be a lot of fun. That's the one thing I can guarantee. It's going to be fun.
You know, it will be a lot of fun, and you see that throughout these games, and obviously this one's had a lot of it too, some smack talking going on and kind of jawing at each other, and that's part of playing the same team over and over again, is these guys get too familiar with some matchups, and you kind of guess certain things one way and feel another way, and that's what's caused some of these to go that way. And obviously Jimmy Butler's all excited and stuff, and I mean, just what a story for him too. I mean, obviously you have the LeBron early Cleveland days, but if he gets to the finals, this is one of the more impressive final runs by like one individual superstar, and if he's able to win it, I you're gonna hate me for it because I've already argued with this, but I think it could be probably the best individual kind of championship here in my lifetime.
You know, I want to disagree with you on that just because of the basis of it, but I mean, I don't know what else to compare it to besides the Dirk run, and even that Dirk had some help with guys that, at the time Tyson Chandler was 28. He wasn't, out of his prime yet. You still had several guys, but I mean, Jimmy Butler's literally carrying this team every single game you watch him, even in Game 4 where he didn't play that well, but he still had to be the guy.
Exactly, and that's always been the argument is the Dirk one, and I just think, don't get me wrong, obviously it was more impressive. It's impressive, and currently is the best one, but these still had guys like you said, Chandler, Jason Kidd, Corey Brewer. There were still a lot of side pieces on that team that really helped that team go a long way.
Yeah, but we will have to see what happens then, obviously, if this series, when it does end, because it has to end eventually, we'll make a video coming back and wrapping that up. But until then, folks, like I said earlier, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and as always, thank you for watching, and have a good one, everyone.